Hello, Thyroid Thrivers, and welcome back to another episode of the Thyroid Healthy Bites podcast, with bi weekly episodes dedicated to helping you eat well, live well, and feel well. I'm Jenny Mahar, a functional medicine health coach, cordon bleu chef, and your thyroid health and cooking coach. So if you're ready to get inspired, informed, and empowered with thyroid-friendly food and lifestyle topics, expert interviews, and tales from the healing journey, you're in the right place, friend. Let's dig in. Hello, Thyroid Thrivers, and welcome back to the show. I am thrilled to be here today with a very special guest. Beth Johnson is a fellow Thyroid Thriver and a beloved member of my Thrivers Club community. She has so graciously and courageously agreed to share her story with us today, and I can't wait for you to hear it. Beth, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here. This will be fun.
You know, it's so important on the thyroid journey, which is, for many of us lifelong, and for all of us, like just our health journey is
Hmm.
a lifelong journey. It can be a long and winding journey. And it's so important, I think, to just hear real stories from real people, stories of hope from those who are finding their way with balance, with grace, with self-acceptance, compassion, and you've done that so beautifully, Beth. It's been such an honor
Oh,
to witness your transformation, to play a small part in that, a supporting role, I guess. And I'm just really excited to, dive into your journey, hear more about your story today, share you and your light and your gifts with with our listeners, because it's just so powerful to know that we're not alone, as you know, and that we can find a way to thrive that works for us and honors our individuality, our individual needs, our lifestyles, our circumstances, our desires, what we want from our lives and just who we are. And that's something that you've done so beautifully and with great success. So I'm just really excited to chat with you today.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Me too.
Well, I'd love it if maybe we could just start by hearing a little bit more about you and your background and interests.
Well, I I grew up a Midwest Iowa farm girl. Um, so I always tell people I clean up very well. Um, but I sing and I teach people to sing. This is what I do for a living. And it runs the gamut from classical and opera to jazz and contemporary, using the whole scope of the voice. And so, as most singers and vocalists will tell you, because you are the instrument, you learn to become very, very sensitive to what's going on because everything that affects you affects how you sing. Beyond that, I am a mom of two amazing young men, um, and now have two daughters-in-law to add to that, and four grandchildren between them all to add to that. And
Wow.
it's very fun. So, yeah, and that and gardening and quilting and just, my home and family, I guess, are the biggest things.
Yeah, you have such a full life and your garden is absolutely incredible. We've seen pictures in the Thrivers Club and it's no messing around. I have a very small, like raised bed garden, but you've got a really big garden and it's so beautiful. You've just created this oasis.
But yeah, the garden, it's so fascinating, the garden. So I grew up on a farm with a mother who had a huge garden because we had to have a huge garden. That's how we ate.
Mhm.
Um, and so when I got a house with my family, I just thought I had to have a garden. And about 20 years ago, I finally gave up vegetable gardening because it was just a giant source of stress
Mhm.
and guilt. And it's like, why am I doing this? And I just decided I wasn't a vegetable gardener. What I realize now, it was just not the season. Everything comes in seasons.
Mhm.
And during the pandemic, because now we're just home, um, we decided to get four raised beds and some heirloom seeds, and that's kind of where it started, was just these four beds and one that my husband made, and we've added to it over the past several years, and it's become what it is. But the biggest thing about that garden was it was such a place and continues to be a place of healing for me,
Mm,
physically, mentally, emotionally,
mhm.
getting outside, being barefoot in the sun, hands in the dirt. Um, it's it's probably one of the biggest things that has helped my journey over the past couple years.
I can feel that for sure. There's something really healing and inspiring about watching things grow.
Hmm.
And there's so many life lessons, I think, from the garden and growing things. And I also really appreciate what you said about just the seasons of life. Yeah, I too started with a really big garden and had no idea. I always fancied myself a gardener until I actually had one. And it was so big. I mean, I remember I pl had like 20 tomato plants. Like it was just way too much for, and then I got pregnant with my son. So I'm out there, in the August heat, 8 months pregnant, pulling weeds, battling insect. I just felt like I'm constantly at war with something out here. The weeds, the pests, the deer in our neighborhood. I say we live on like a venison ranch. It's
Hmm.
the urban deer where in Missoula, Montana are it's crazy. Yeah, so they would come and just completely mow the whole thing down as soon as everything started to come into fruit. And then my husband, I was like, I just want something smaller and raised bed just for fun. Like we have great farmers markets here. I don't need to grow all my food. And so I downsized, and that's been wonderful for me for this
Yeah.
season of my life where I'm also, raising a kid, running a business. Like
Yes.
it was a good choice. And
Hmm.
maybe in the future, I'll go to having a bigger garden too. But I love it. I call it my Zen garden now, and I can totally relate to what you're saying. There's just something really peaceful about being out there, being in the dirt, grounding,
Hmm.
earthing that way, tending to things,
Hmm.
thinking about how we thrive, what goes into growing something, what goes into our own growth.
Yeah.
We learn so much that way. So that's beautiful. And I love that you, of course, brought up your voice. That I think is such a unique part of your story. And, we were talking a little bit about this before the show, how the voice and the thyroid are very interconnected energetically. That's one thing that, amongst like energy healers and stuff, which I'm all into that stuff, right?
Hmm.
The throat chakra is that's where the thyroid sits. It sits at the base of our throat.
Hmm.
And they talk about the voice and the throat chakra and the thyroid being intertwined and how important it is for us as thyroid thrivers to find our voice, to use our voice, to speak our truth.
Hmm.
And sometimes, there can be of course, different physical root causes of thyroid issues and stuff. There can also be some of those deeper, more energetic, spiritual, emotional root causes where maybe some of us with thyroid issues feel like we've struggled to find our voice, to be heard, to use our voice, to feel like when is it going to be my turn to have a seat at this table, to, have this embodiment of my voice, which is kind of like a part of our personal power, our
Yeah.
personal empowerment, And that's such a beautiful piece of your journey. I remember when you joined the Thrivers Club. This is back in October 2023. So it's been a
Yeah.
little while. We're going on, what is that, like a year and a half?
Hmm.
And you said, "Yeah, I'm a singer and I teach people to sing and my voice is my instrument and
Yeah.
everything I do affects that instrument. So
Hmm.
I have to, make the right food and lifestyle choices. I have to nurture myself, for my own ability to use this instrument, this gift that you have."
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. it's so interesting. So I was diagnosed, oh, it'll be 3 years come this coming fall, October, I think. Um, but I have spent the last 20 years eating what people call alternatively, because initially I noticed that when I was eating wheat, it affected how I sang. So we cut that out, which then led to grains and dairy mostly, and sugars and caffeine, and not that I ever had a lot of alcohol, but that also affects it. And all these things that over a period of 20 years that I had either completely cut out or severely limited. It wasn't until I was diagnosed and started deep diving and researching into thyroid healthy living, every single one interferes with thyroid process.
Hmm.
But, I probably would have been diagnosed sooner if I hadn't been so in tune with that. Um, on the other hand, it made that transition into a thyroid healthy lifestyle in many ways much easier because I was already eating that way.
Hmm.
And I know it was so helpful with all the different things in the Thrivers Club to help refine that even more.
Hmm.
For me, it was really, really helpful. But oh yeah, no, singing, I don't even know. I mean, there's the physical act, definitely, but then there's all the energy that goes into it. And depending on the type of music I'm singing, like the classical takes so much energy. I liken it to being an Olympic athlete. You
Oh, I can
have to,
see that. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, you have to be at the top of your game to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm just, Beth shared some of her singing with me, Handel's Messiah, and spoiler alert, I'm going to share a little clip of that with all of you at the end of the show. So stick around. As we're signing off, you'll get to hear some of Beth singing today. So prepare for that because it's moving. But maybe we
Thanks.
should, I'd love to maybe go back to like the beginning of your thyroid journey. How did that start for you? When were you diagnosed? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Oh, I can. So I was diagnosed, so this is 2025. So about October 2022. I had known for a handful of years before that something was not right. Um, to, I don't know, positive or negative, I tend to be someone that kind of deep dives and tries to figure it out myself until I can't. And then, that's where you bring in your doctor. But I knew I was having energy problems. I had started gaining weight. You know, it's not like I'm eating bad things because I'm not. And even what I consider bad things are usually pretty healthy for other people. Um, and had lost all all enthusiasm for things I loved.
Hmm.
Um, Singing itself became work. It should never feel like work. It should just be open and free. I mean, it takes energy, but it should just work well. And it just felt so heavy, and everything was lowering. And so that got to be really hard. And COVID hit. I ended up getting COVID the month before vaccines were available. Ended up with about a year and a half of long-term issues that now looking back, I understand now were thyroid issues on super steroids.
Hmm.
Um, but it got to the point, all of it, that it was actually debilitating, um, which I think is so ironic and interesting for other people who don't understand what it is to be tired, because you look fine. When I see you out and about, you seem fine.
Hmm.
Um, a good example is as you and I talked the other day on the call. Um, I've been having some issues after being sick and finding that my diet has narrowed. But because of a minor dietary choice that I did not think about on Monday, I suddenly could not make a rehearsal on Monday night that I'm in charge of. And I looked fine, but I also knew that if I walked in there, I would probably conduct for about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30, and then I would have to lay on the floor for about another 15, 20 minutes before I could continue on. So it's one of those things that it just isn't noticeable for people.
Mm-hmm.
But so um, back to the other, so getting so it was very debilitating. Um, so getting a diagnosis was huge. I mean, I had already tried to figure out things with my adrenals, thinking there was something wrong there, and trying to work to prop them up. But the diagnosis was like one of the best things because then I knew exactly what was going on.
Right.
Um, and of course, my doctor, when I said, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? And he's like, I would have this discussion with you if it was anything else. And it all does, it does matter what you eat, how you sleep, your exercise, how you choose to exercise matters. But he said, your body is not producing what you need. You can't completely change this by changing something else. You have to take this.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned to embrace that. Over the course of 2 years, I started to find myself again, refine my diet, figure out how to exercise. Um, the interesting thing with all of this um, is how now that I am healthy, my outlook is very different. Um, and I'm a little more assertive than I ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, always had things when I saw something that wasn't right, that something needed to be said, but I couldn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
That person doesn't exist anymore within me. That person will find a way to kindly and lovingly, but firmly say what needs to be said, um, to which I am really pleased about. And so now, with all of that, looking back, I understand that about four and a half, the celiac issues started to show themselves in the form of extreme eczema. Um, the sh I wouldn't call it shyness, but the unwillingness to put yourself forward
Mm-hmm.
is also part of that piece. And
You're saying this is when you were 4.5, you started having those celiac symptoms.
right, which
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
eventually rolled into, I think, thyroid interference throughout childhood. I don't know that I was
Mm-hmm.
hypothyroid, but definitely by the time I got to be an adult, looking back, it's very clear when
Mm-hmm.
I was going through a flare, my energy was either way up or way down. There was never any midline. It was never constant. Um, so thankfully, mentally, emotionally, I was pretty even keeled. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been misdiagnosed with bipolar. But one of the things, and it was very telling, after my doctor and I had been working with this, and I was in for a checkup, and he wondered how things were going. And I'm like, well, I was kind of thinking maybe I should have a little more at night because I get tired. And he looked at me and basically said, that's normal. You're supposed to be tired at night. I had never understood what normal energy felt like.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, you touch on so many important and pertinent things, Beth, starting with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's as an invisible illness where
Hmm.
people think, but you look fine,
Hmm.
so I don't get it. And it's like, as thyroid patients, you quickly understand like it actually can, just because we look fine doesn't mean we are not really having to push to get through the day. It doesn't mean we're not like moving through like quicksand,
Right.
of fatigue issues, low energy, brain fog, just that slowing down of the body and the metabolism that affects every system in the body.
Hmm.
And also how you through this journey kind of found your voice, were called to step into a more empowered place with your voice, and um, some of the, the silver linings and the gifts that come from this, where it's like we can't get away with
Yeah.
some of the things, even our own choices are, maybe there's relationships we're in, maybe there's jobs that are, or whatever, that just isn't right for us. And it kind of brings those things to crystal clear clarity, doesn't it? Where it's like, this isn't working for me anymore. I
Yeah.
have to change this. If I am
Yeah.
to be well, if I am truly to be well on like a really deep foundational level, those things also have to be addressed. It's not just the food and the sleep and the supplements and optimizing your meds and all that, It
Hmm.
goes beyond
Right.
to how
It
we think
does.
about ourselves, how we speak to ourselves, how we communicate with others. All of that comes into play. So thank you for, kind of putting all of those things into one, very clear image of how this journey has been for you.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so you came to the Thrivers Club. As we mentioned, it was October 2023. It was the uh, fall kickstart, or thyroid healthy eating kickstart that I do every fall in the Thrivers Club. So this is
Hmm.
where, as a group, we basically go through my signature course, which is called the
Hmm.
Thyroid Healthy Meal Plan Kickstart. And what it's designed to do is to help people get started with thyroid healthy eating, or maybe for those who have been on this path for a while, it can just be a good refresh. Getting refreshed with our food choices, getting refreshed on how does thyroid healthy eating work? What does that mean? The foundation is really anti-inflammatory eating,
Hmm.
which is beneficial for anyone. I mean, this is how, inflammation is a driver of disease, especially chronic disease, especially autoimmune disease. So, it's this is where people are like, oh, well, will this be beneficial for me if I have, Hashimoto's, or if I just have hypothyroidism, or this or that? It's like these are really the nutritional foundations of like functional nutrition,
Hmm.
which the point is to prevent and manage chronic illness, including other chronic illnesses, not just thyroid disease, but things like diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and preventing Alzheimer's, and all kinds of different autoimmune illnesses, and just inflammatory driven disease. So that's kind of the basis of it, right? I'm curious to hear, like, when you came to that program and started getting in tune, kind of more, as you said, you kind of knew, you had known your whole life there had been lots of clues, right?
Hmm.
Clues around gluten and things like that. Do you remember when you came to the Thrivers Club and the Thyroid Healthy Meal Plan Kickstart and that program, like what was going on for you then that kind of drove you to maybe seek more support?
So initially, I found you because earlier in the fall, late summer, somewhere in there, I had decided to ride my bike 2 miles to the library to go to a talk on beekeeping that a friend of mine was giving, and then ride home. So, what you need to know background wise is I used to do a week-long bike ride between 400 and 500 miles with, I don't know, thousands of people in Iowa. It's called RAGBRAI, the Register's Annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa. Very fun. Last full week of July. So it's hot. It's, you, great fun. So I used to do a lot of biking. And so I went there and it's all flat, 2 miles. There's no hills. And I came back and I was so done and I had no energy the next day. And it's like, I have to figure this out.
Mhm.
Um, which that part of it has been the most challenging for me, the physical exercise part, which has also been helpful. But what I found was your website, because it was that next night I got to figure this out. And here is this exercise package. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
The
oh,
thyroid-friendly workout kit.
which I
Yes.
ended up purchasing that night. And because I, going through it, loved everything. I thought, okay, I need to learn about this. And so then when the Kickstart came around, um, I'm still doing better and I'm figuring things out. But the idea of more energy and figuring that out and just learning more um, was incredibly enticing. And so that's when I started and that's when I joined. And because boy, once you have gotten a taste of what it feels like to have normal energy, you
Hmm.
are always trying to get back there and stay there.
Yes, we love energy. Thyroid issues are energy issues.
Hmm.
And it can be
Hmm.
so easy to be like the frog in the pot where, it's not just everyone else saying, but you look normal, even in our own heads. It's like, yeah, I'm a little more tired than normal. Gosh, I don't really feel like myself. I feel kind of, maybe I'm depressed, like my light is going out. Like you were saying, just not feeling joy
Hmm.
around the things that you love. And then we have those wake up calls of, I am going to need to literally lay on the floor at this,
Hmm. And boy, for me,
at this, yeah,
it's like instantaneous. Like I'll be like earlier this week, I am cutting up vegetables to go into whatever we're doing. Troy and I are in the kitchen, and it's like, okay, I have to go lay down. Set the knife down, lay on the floor. It's
yeah,
that quick.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
What felt hardest for you at the beginning of that journey when you kind of started to really, like, I'm going to lean into this, try and figure this out, try and learn more about, how food comes into play and things like that. What were some of the most challenging things when you started on that part of your journey?
I think, I mean, beyond the physical exercise part, because I just have grown up always pushing. You just push. You just figure it out and you go forward. And you can't do that. Nobody should do that. But as a thyroid thriver, you can't do that to yourself.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the biggest thing was allowing myself grace and stepping back and understanding that this whole process, and now I'm feeling a little bit emotional about this whole process was going to take the time it needed to take. I couldn't rush it, I couldn't accelerate it. It took a long time to get to this place. My body was so broken down. Um, and that I just needed to give grace. One of the biggest things, because I had gained, oh my goodness, a solid 70 pounds at my heaviest. And I'm 5'1". I am not a big person. Does it's not a good feel, not a good look, but definitely not a good feel. And so, you just want to get the weight off. And it's like I had to keep reminding myself to stay the course.
Hmm.
The weight will start to come off once the body is back in balance. There were many days when I wasn't doing much, especially early on. And it's like, but this is the work. The rest is the work. This is the work today. And I'm trying to remember the name of the person because that's where I got it from in the she's one of the she does one of the exercise things. She's kind of a Boston accent. I can't quite remember her name. Andrea.
Oh, yes, Andrea
Yes.
Wool of Autoimmune
Yes.
Strong. Hmm.
Yes. And she would often say, this is the work.
Hmm.
This is the work. And it's like, okay, today is a low key day. Today I am sitting. This is, excuse me, this is the work today.
Hmm.
And that was that was probably the most difficult thing is
Hmm.
just allowing my body the time and the grace to heal.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Was there a moment when you started to notice things were shifting for you? Because hearing that, I'm like, wow, Beth has come so far. Like you've had some really amazing wins and have turned things around from that.
Yeah.
Do you remember feeling like, okay, this is working?
Yes. When I started to find joy again
Hmm.
in little things, in singing, um, wanting to garden, and to expand more, um, being able to do more. I mean, we would start to go hiking again, and just knowing that I couldn't have done the hike we were doing even a month before. Yeah, I'm super tired, and we're going to sit here now for about 20 minutes before we continue on. But the fact that I could, um, last year I started picking up running again. I
Hmm.
used to just love and I would run about 2 or 3 times a week, 1 or 2 mi or 2 or 3 miles. Because even then, before I was diagnosed, I understood that my body did not like to run every day. I now understand why, but it did not like to run every day.
Hmm.
Um, and then I ended up losing that because I decided, well, let's push it to 4 to 6 miles, 2 to 3 times a day or 3 times a week.
Hmm.
Bad idea. That's when the running just, I couldn't do it. But it has been so wonderful to begin to put that in. It's still in small increments,
Hmm.
but it's in increments that make me feel good, that don't destroy me for the day or
Hmm.
two, you know. It's those things, getting your life back. Over the past year, one of the things I've never been able to do is not only see the vision of something I wanted to happen within my home or whatever in my life, but the energy to follow it through to fruition and make it happen.
Hmm.
And also be able to just sit back and go, okay, that can't happen now. We focus here, but that will wait. I've never been able to do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's those things, and it's just, and being able to just connect with people on a very real and authentic level. Um, before my diagnosis, before I got feeling really healthy, I I would tell you that I was very, very secure in my relationships, not always secure in myself. And about a year and a half ago, that flipped.
Mm.
I was becoming super secure in who I was, but not my relationships anymore
Hmm.
because I had changed and I had grown and I had gotten healthy. Um, Now I'm at a point where that's evening out again, and
Hmm.
I'm feeling very secure in my relationships. Some of them have changed
Hmm.
greatly, some of them have not. Um, but those that have not, well, I shouldn't say they haven't, they've just deepened,
Hmm.
to an even more authentic level. And I know my boundaries. I am really happy to exercise those boundaries. Um, no is a great word,
Hmm.
which just means not yet, not never,
Hmm.
not yet. Um, yeah, those are the things that have changed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I love all of that. And again, you're so good at seeing the big picture, not just how am I exercising and how am I relating to that, but how are my relationships? How am I changing? How can I make room for that? And also kind of ride this metamorphosis out and
Yeah,
give that transformation process the time that it takes,
hmm,
because it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a 30-day program. It's not a quick fix. Those
yeah,
things can help us, make progress along the way. But we really, if we're going to thrive long term, we have to adopt that long-term mindset and we have to take a whole life, whole health approach. And that includes things like being able to make healthy boundaries. I mean, that's a huge silver lining, I know for me and so many others. We have, content on that in the Thrivers Club about like, this is part of the process.
Yeah.
Not saying yes to everything just because you feel like you should anymore. Like, hey, Thyroid Thrivers, Ginny here. I just want to pop in with a real quick message. If you're listening to today's show and thinking, I want to get started with this, I want to feel better, I need support, and that is my missing piece, I've got good news for you. I have created the group health coaching membership for Thyroid Thrivers just like you. It's called the Thrivers Club, and you can learn more about it at hypothyroidchef.com/membership. When you become a Thrivers Club member, you get access to me, your personal on-demand health and cooking coach, a full recipe library of thyroid-friendly recipes, including gluten-free, dairy-free, paleo, and AIP recipes. You get access to an amazing, positive, healing-focused community of other thyroid thrivers who get it and who know what it's like to face the unique challenges that we face. You also get access to loads of expert resources created not just by me, but by other thyroid experts, doctors, nutritionists, all kinds of brilliant minds in the thyroid space. And one of the best parts about the Thrivers Club, and really where the results happen for people, is that you get access as a member to our monthly wellness challenges. And those wellness challenges just provide extra inspiration and motivation to make those small but mighty steps that get us where we want to be on our healing journey. Let's find out what happens when you have that support that you need. I'd love to welcome you to the Thrivers Club. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to hypothyroidchef.com/membership. So check out the Thrivers Club today. Okay, back to the show. When you're working from a more limited energy bank, it really clarifies like, what do I want to spend my time and energy on?
It
And
does.
not just the maybe more limited energy bank, maybe we start to get our energy back, but we also have to foster and facilitate this relationship with self-care. And there has to be some time for me in there to rejuvenate and restore and rest
Hmm.
and do the things that bring me joy, what like gardening, or have time to do a workout, or the things that
Hmm.
make me feel okay and good. So you touch on so many important things there, Beth, and I know it's been one of your like really powerful character strengths is that ability to come to this with openness and curiosity, and within that, grace. I remember when you started running, and I think this is important for people to hear because there's so much around exercise, there's so much emphasis on we want to prioritize strength training. And there's
Hmm.
many, many good reasons for that, and that's absolutely true.
Hmm.
However, less cardio doesn't mean no cardio. And for
Right.
people who love to do those things, it's like you can find a way. I work with people who are competitive triathletes in their late 40s who have Hashimoto's, and they found a way to do this through supportive food and lifestyle. And okay, I'm going to dial up my strength training as part of my, training for being able to run a triathlon and swim and bike and all those other things. But I remember when you started running, you said, I ran to the end of the street and back. And then I gave myself like a couple days off and just listened to my body. But it brings you joy to run. So
Hmm.
you found that place in you of how can I still do this? How can I to this from a place where my ego isn't pushing me into harming myself? That's we all deal with that. I'm like, I overdid it because I wanted to push,
Hmm.
And how many times do I have to learn that lesson? Like we all go through those things, but you found that so beautifully and quickly on your journey of I'm going to meet myself where I am and I'm just going to let it go slow. And in doing that, then I'd talk to you the next month and you'd say, well, now I'm up to, now I can run a mile a couple times a week or what, it was this
Yes.
progression that was so wonderful to see. It was such a win. And I could just see, I can still see today when you talk about it, how it lights you up. Like,
Yeah.
you're able to do that because you understand so much more about how to support your body, how to understand like the challenges that our bodies are under when we have something like hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. So, um, and also you have, I know, this is the number one most common frustration for
Hmm.
thyroid thrivers, myself included. We, in addition to thyroid issues being energy issues, they're metabolic issues. And even when we're medicated, even when our medication is even optimized, when all of our thyroid levels are in the optimal range, we still may have a harder time losing or maintaining the weight that we want. And, it's it's not about having to look perfect. It's about, like you said, it didn't feel good to you. It doesn't feel good
Right.
in my body to, I wanted to lose some of this. So, can you maybe update us on that and how that's been
Yeah.
for you?
Oh, absolutely. So, um, patience pays off. I'll put it that way. Um, in the last, I don't know how many months, guess because it's very slow, but I have lost a solid 30 at this point. It's kind of evened out at the moment just after being sick and trying to get that all figured out again. Um, but um, I find when I am definitely eating exactly how my body wants, not how I want, but how my body wants, which for me, and this isn't everybody because it's so bio-individual, which for me means absolutely no gluten, no grains, no dairy, and only simple sugars. And those are limited. When I do that, it starts to fall off maybe about a half a pound, pound a week, you know. Um, I can't always maintain that, so then it plateaus out. But then we get back to it and it will continue. So, at this point, um, I actually, so I had kept clothes, right? I am one of these people who a while ago I decided even if it's free, if I don't love it, it is not in my closet. So I really like everything in my closet. And I actually went through everything in my closet about 2 weeks ago, and was able to take a set of clothes, the next size down, and move them, some of them actually hanging in my closet, and the others into the closet, still packed away, but ready to pull out in the next few months. So that felt really good.
I bet. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations, Beth. I mean, losing 30 pounds is a huge accomplishment
yeah,
and
yeah. It,
says a lot to me about the fact that the choices that you're making are supporting your body enough to be able to drop the weight. And I think that's one of the things that can take, as you said, so much patience for us
yeah.
in our, our quest to lose weight for those of us who want to lose unwanted weight is we've got to also get the body to a place where it is able to release the weight. As my friend and fellow thyroid advocate, Angela Brown says, losing weight is kind of dropping weight, releasing weight. It's kind of the last thing your body wants to do because
Hmm.
our bodies are looking out for us. They're like, no, we're going to
Hmm.
save you from the famine that's coming.
Hmm.
We have those like ingrained survival mechanisms in our body. Even hypothyroidism can be triggered by things like chronic caloric restriction, where our body's like, well, we're in a famine, so we're going to slow things down so you're not burning as many calories every day. And
Right.
so to me, that says you're finding clearly a good balance where your body feels safe enough to go, we can let go of some of this,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of touched a little bit on food. Maybe can we talk a little bit more about that? What food discoveries have made the biggest difference for you? I know you've had some big aha moments around, particular foods being correlated with particular symptoms. Can you share with us a little bit more about that and how those things have affected things like sleep, mood, energy, etc.?
Yeah. Well, probably the biggest thing um, is that if my diet is not right, nothing is.
Hmm.
For me, it starts, that is the base. And if I am eating things that I should not on a regular basis, I mean, I can, till recently anyway, I could get, away with, the occasional dairy or the occasional gluten-free grain, which I kind of hope to get back to in the next few months. But if I continue to just, oh, I'll have a little more, oh, I'll have a little more, I start to not sleep well. It's not deep. It might be interrupted. Um, Muscle recovery isn't as great. I also don't have it affects my energy. That's one of the first things that goes.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Brain fog, motivation, all those things. Weight gain, that happens about 2 or 3 days later, 4 days later, if I don't, you know, walk away.
Course
Um,
correct. Yeah.
yes, I like that course correct. Um, yeah, so I've understood for quite a while, for most of this past few years, what an exercise-induced flare feels like for me, because that was again the biggest hurdle for me.
Hmm.
But so for people who don't know, I went through January and into February getting the norovirus, and then right after that RSV, and then right after that, thankfully, a mild case of influenza A. So the viruses have definitely, I realized a few days ago, have definitely narrowed my scope of food so that when I did choose to have grains in March, it laid me out for 2 days. And it was interesting because the tired was different from an exercise induced tired.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I have, a latte with lavender foam on Monday, which again, another day and a half,
Hmm.
which is why I missed that rehearsal. Um, and I'm not sure at this point, especially after you and I talked, whether it was the oat milk, which should have been an obvious duh moment for myself, but we will be kind because that has always worked in the past and been fine, or
Yeah.
whether it was the foam itself with the dairy. So when I have 2 days to just not worry about anything, I will experiment again and do almond milk and see if it was the lavender foam. So
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
Which you said
but
was a dairy thing,
it
right?
is. It's
Yeah.
very much dairy, um,
Yeah.
as opposed to the oat milk, which would be grain.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's very, very interesting. And then I know, was it about a year ago, I suddenly couldn't eat eggs,
Hmm.
or a year and a half, somewhere in there. Um, but that's back. That was just, I had been overeating them. And when I took them
Uh-huh.
out, my body was like, yeah, no. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I
but no.
remember that was you were it was really affecting your sleep,
Oh,
eating
yes.
eggs. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And interestingly, when you research that, that's one of the things that comes up right away, that a sensitivity to eggs, insomnia is absolutely one of those things.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good reminder of the fact that food sensitivities aren't always GI related.
No.
They can be skin related, like you were dealing with your eczema since age
Hmm.
4. And it could be headaches, it could be fatigue, it could be mood. When I eat gluten now, which is rare, um, but like, it's like your latte. Like sometimes it just happens, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes it happens on accident where I'm like, oh, whoops. I didn't realize that had was made with breadcrumbs or something like that. But I get really grouchy after. It definitely affects my mood. Yeah, it's interesting how those things show up. And I know there's been some real aha moments for you, but I'm glad to hear that you're maybe evolving with the eggs and finding some
Hmm.
thresholds there that because that's one thing we talk about a lot in the Thrivers Club is figuring out what are my hard lines, what is my wiggle room,
Yeah.
and so that we can live our lives, travel, hang out with our friends, dine out, and know like if there's a little bit of egg in this, it's okay for me. I don't eat eggs 4 or 5 days a week anymore, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar experience with eggs where it was I just needed to eat less eggs.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I had no idea that's what was causing my symptoms because it wasn't immediate. It would be
Hmm.
like a day or two later. So finding those correlations takes patience. It takes us being a good scientist. It takes us tracking,
Hmm.
what did I eat? How is my body changing? And often something like what we do in the Kickstart, which is basically a month of paleo.
Yes.
And so we're cutting all those things out for a limited period of time. And then what do we want to attempt to reintroduce? We systematically do that one at a time. And we do the data tracking. We're paying attention to what we eat. We're tracking our symptoms and noticing what came back. And when you reintroduce foods, you want to do like one food at a time. They typically recommend waiting at least 3 and up to 5 days before reintroducing another food so that we can really isolate those reactions. And that seems like on your journey, it's I always think of you when I write about this or talk about this to people, like this is a skill. This is an essential skill for us as thyroid
Hmm.
thrivers it should be in our toolkit because you will use it again and again and again as you're trying to figure out what do I need to be eating and avoiding right now? What are my thresholds so I can have as much food freedom as possible?
Yes.
And also, as the body changes, as you've said, for a while, I had to cut out eggs. Now I can have them occasionally and I don't have symptoms.
Hmm.
So, the body evolves, it heals. Oftentimes, we're able to um, tolerate more. And then as you've been through, Beth, I'm so sorry and I know so many people can relate to this. This past winter was rough with RSV,
Yes.
norovirus, and influenza A. It was like everywhere. All my, people all over the country were saying the same things. And it was the same here in my hometown. But now your body's still, it's saying, we need some extra care with this, and you're
Yeah.
tuned into that. And you also come to that with this grace and wisdom of knowing this may change. It's just where I'm at now. I kind of need to walk the straight and narrow a little bit more here because I can feel my body is still trying to recover from everything it went through with all of
Yeah.
the viral kind of onslaught that you went through. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, and it's funny because with the eggs, this is why the kickstart is so good. I mean, all of them are so good, but it was doing the kickstart, um, and I hadn't realized that the first 2 weeks we weren't eating eggs. I was
Mhm.
just following all which I can't wait for your cookbook, by the way, because all of the recipes are so good. Um,
Thank you.
but when we did when we figured out our own menu for the third week, I just said, "Oh, this sounds good. This frittata, let's make this for breakfast."
Hmm.
And after about the third day, that's when I had to start researching because something, and that was the only thing that had changed.
Hmm.
And it was just so eye-opening. But yeah,
Yeah.
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 But thankfully it changes. So,
Yeah, yes. Are there, we talked about, of course, the elimination reintroduction process as a tool that so many of us will use over and
mhm.
over on our journey. Are there other tools or strategies that you feel have helped you the most on your journey?
Um, boy, I gotta think about that. I think just being very self-aware, very bodily aware, which comes with the territory of being a vocalist. Um, there are many, many days that I am very, very thankful for that because I know, looking back at family health history, I would have some really nasty issues right now if I wasn't tuned into that, if I wasn't eating the way I was eating. Um, and they range from diabetes to cancer to other things, and I don't at this point. And I know I eat very, very differently from my grandmother's, um, from my own mother, from her first half, but the second half she has been eating this way as well. Um, so just the self-aware. There are days, they're few and far between, but there are days I wish I was a little bit more ignorant because, you know, then I would have the latte.
Right,
But it's all
right.
good.
Yeah.
I am. So that's probably the biggest thing. And just grace, giving grace.
Hmm.
That's that's also big. And I also have to put in a shout out for my husband who I would not be where I am without his support
Hmm.
in this journey. You know, he has picked up the slack when I could not do. He is quick to say, "How are you? Are you sure?" You know, so that support has been invaluable.
Hmm. Yeah. Is that something that's come naturally to you, inviting, him into your journey, or is that something you've had to kind of learn how to do along the way?
A little of both.
Hmm.
We were very, very good friends before we started dating, so that has always been a really good part of our relationship. So sharing that hasn't been difficult, but having to say, I can't do this, I need your help, would you help me? To which he will always say yes, and I've always known that. But it's always been that this is my responsibility. I should be doing this.
Hmm.
It's my own brain. It's not his, it's mine. So letting go of that, being able to say, will you please help me? I can't do this. I can't cook dinner tonight.
Hmm.
I can't do such and such. Um, can you? Would you? That has gotten way easier to now that we are more a team than we ever have been.
Hmm.
Um, so it's all good, but that
Yeah.
was hard. That
Yeah.
was hard to get there initially.
Support is so huge on this journey, and I'm so glad that you have that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'll give another shout out to Troy and thank you for
Yes.
supporting Beth on her journey. It really it takes a village and it takes our families. And yeah, I know that's something I've had definitely had to learn to do along the way, and it has made so much difference. And
Mhm.
trying to go it alone really slowed me down on
Mhm.
the progress I was making. So, for anybody that needs to hear that, I'm curious, Beth, what role do you feel like community has played in just that community support has played in your success?
Um, a lot. I, especially early on, but even now, I find such value in hearing everyone's stories, what they're doing, their wins, their challenges, the information that you bring. I have found being part of the Thrivers community so important simply because I learn something new all the time. Like just even the Thrivers call on Wednesday. It was so good to have you say, this is okay. This is part of the journey. You don't want it to go too long, but give your body more time.
Hmm.
Um, which I really needed to hear.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not always good at being an active member on an online community. I keep trying. But it keeps me accountable
Hmm.
to myself that because this is a lifetime thing. This is not, oh, we'll be fine. I mean, I'm fine now, but it's not that this is ever going to go away.
Hmm.
I have to manage this daily, and it's wonderful and inspiring and encouraging and strengthening to be part of a community that helps you stay on that course.
Hmm. Yes, thank you for that. And I'm so glad that the Thrivers Club has been supportive to you in that
Mm,
way, Beth. And, it's very intentional for me to not just create several different ways for people to stay inspired, stay informed, and stay on track, but to offer a variety of opportunities so that people can do what feels best to them. So, you know, trust your journey and your what works for you with where
mhm,
you're at right now. Like a lot of the members, they want to participate every single month in our wellness challenges, and that's their thing. And those are really fun. And we're tracking, it's really like awareness building.
mhm,
There's just some light, healthy competition, that
mhm.
adds just that little touch of accountability where we can build self-awareness. And for some of us, it's very motivating. For other people, like you're really great about showing up to our monthly coaching calls, and there's a lot of people who do the wellness challenges who maybe they don't, the coaching calls aren't their thing, or they just watch the replay or whatever. It's I really want it to be what you need it to be. So
Mhm.
it's okay that, however you are participating, want to participate, that you can tailor this experience to you and take what you need from it. So, and clearly it's working.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. I am. I am. Well, even like this year, I haven't done much with the oh, I just lost the word. There's the brain fog. With the challenges.
The wellness
Uh,
challenges, yeah.
well, thank you. The wellness challenges, but even if I haven't actively participated, it's on my radar for the month. Like, oh,
Yeah.
how is my sleep? Oh, I got to really be paying attention to this. I know you've done the wellness challenge before, but what do you need to rethink about with your sleep?
Right, right. You don't have to participate in the wellness challenge. Like we're all like, yes, every month there's a theme. This month it's
Hmm.
become a super sleeper. You can watch the workshop. You can take the sleep hygiene quiz to do a self-assessment. Then there's all these supportive resources. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's like you can make this what you need it to be, make it
Hmm.
work for you, do because we all thrive in different ways. And that's
Yeah.
so much a part of the journey. Different things make different people tick. Different things inspire and motivate people. Also, as you so aptly put it, there are different seasons of life too,
Hmm.
where maybe some of us have more bandwidth than others for certain things. And maybe some of us just give me just that one simple action step I can think about this month to improve my sleep because that's all I got,
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful having you, in the Thrivers Club. You bring so much good energy to our awesome community.
Oh,
It never ceases to amaze me, just this special group of people that it has
yes.
attracted, how supportive and open people are. That it's, very non-dogmatic that way. Like you do you. Nobody's going to
Hmm.
judge you for eating a piece of pizza or
No.
doing what you need to do to make this work for you and to just come to this with authenticity. Like I'm just
Hmm.
doing my thing. There's going to be ups and downs. We're
Yeah.
in this together. It's powerful for me. So I thank you for being, just such an awesome part of the community, for sharing your story on today's show
Mhm.
with the
Thank you.
listeners so they can be inspired. Because I know it can be hard to kind of see the forest for the trees sometimes, but sitting where I sit, checking in with you like monthly and seeing your progress, it's just been absolutely spectacular to me to witness. It's been inspiring to me the way you come to this with so much that self-acceptance, the patience, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to try something else. And the results for you have been really profound. I mean, I'm just over here cheering you on, going on your runs. You've lost weight you wanted to lose. You have gotten a lot of energy back. You're literally seeing your garden come into full bloom.
Mhm.
I think you mentioned a while back, you were like, I have more energy. So you took like a new job on, right? I
I
mean,
did. It was the
yeah.
first time in 2 years that, granted, I still have a lot of, say in when I work there. It's a catering company, and I just go to serve, and it's really relaxing, and I really love it, and it's awesome food. Um, some of it is even gluten free. Um, I don't eat the other stuff, but that stuff I have. But and it's a lovely group of people, but it's the first job in 2 years that I did not have complete control over.
Hmm.
Private lessons, I
Uh-huh.
have
Right.
complete control over.
Hmm.
But if I have said I'm doing a thing, then I need to show up.
Right. And that's been
So
going well?
yes, very.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I mean, it's so satisfying for me. I love it when people can get back to doing the things they love, but also like we're talking about being able to hold a job here for a lot of people. I know for me, that was one of my at my rock bottom. I
Mhm,
was working as a cooking instructor and kept just like you, like I was so sick all the time
mhm,
that I kept having to cancel classes. And you got 20 people showing, they've paid for this. It's like an event.
mhm,
It was a big problem I can't be missing this. And how can I don't even know what kind of cooking classes to teach anymore because I don't know what I can even eat. But I
mhm.
know I'm not feeling well based on food, but I don't know how that all comes together. So I appreciate that your doctor told you in starting out on this, yes, food and lifestyle makes a difference. And we also have to look at your thyroid levels first and address that so that your body can function. It's that I call it the thyroid trifecta. And this is
Yes,
how we thrive. It's that combination integrated approach of working with our medical professionals to optimize our medications, get on whatever targeted supplements we need, and then choosing, thyroid friendly food choices that are, personalized to our needs, and then also our thyroid friendly lifestyle choices. And you've just done
right.
such an incredible job, Beth, of staying curious about that, continually being a student of that, learning as you go, and just riding this journey out in a way that is, obviously working well for you. So I am, standing ovation,
Oh,
high fives.
great.
And for the listeners, I wanted to share this with you because I know how lonely this journey can be, especially when we don't have support, when we're trying to go it alone, and also when we're in our own journey, because these things can take a while, it's
Mhm.
real easy to miss our wins. It's really easy to take those for granted and to not see like, wow, I've come a long way with this. So, hearing Beth's story, I think you've just provided us with such great perspective and hope. And I just really appreciate you being here with us today, Beth.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it's been great. And I just know that a lot of listeners are going to walk away today from this conversation feeling really seen and supported
Right.
and hopeful because of, you and your courage to come on the show and share your story. And to you, dear listeners, I want to thank all of you for joining us today, whether you're newly diagnosed or years into your thyroid journey. I just really hope that this episode has reminded you that healing is possible and you are not alone. Support is out there. We're all in this together. And stories like Beth's are just such a powerful reminder of what's possible when we approach this with self-compassion and when we give ourselves the gift of support. So, as we sign off today, I'm going to play a clip of Beth singing Handel's Messiah. This is so beautiful. So you'll get to hear a little bit of that as we're kind of signing off for today's show. And until next time, keep going, keep thriving, keep celebrating every small but mighty win along the way. And know that if you need more support, I'm here for you, and the Thrivers Club is here for you too. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for spending this time with me and tuning into today's episode of the Thyroid Healthy Bites podcast. If you've enjoyed today's show, please don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. Your support makes this show possible. For more thyroid healthy food and lifestyle inspiration, check out my free library of thyroid-friendly recipes and lifestyle content at hypothyroidchef.com and the Hypothyroid Chef YouTube channel. As we wrap it up, head to the show notes for information and links to everything we talked about today, along with the link to my free thyroid-friendly grocery guide download. I'm Ginny Mahar, your thyroid health and cooking coach, wishing you happy cooking, happy thriving, and the best of health. See you next time.